Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Royal Oak School Board, May 11th, 2023. Can we please stand for the pledge? Welcome, everybody. Moving down, standing approval items. Can I have, I'm sorry. Is the agenda is approved as presented? Do we have any additions or deletions? We'll consider the agenda approved as presented. Thank you. 3.2, approval of minutes. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mr. Jaworski?
Move that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the following minutes.
Can I have a second? Mrs. Anderson, may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heinsma?
Yes,
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
The motion carries.
thank you. Moving on to proclamations and presentations. 4.1, Board Proclamation, Mental Health Awareness Month. May I have a recommendation? Ms. Yashinsky?
Whereas mental health is a part of overall holistic health, and whereas 1 in 5 adults experience a mental health problem in any given year, and whereas approximately 1/2 of chronic mental illness begins at the age of 14 and 3/4 by age 24, and whereas suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States and the 2nd leading cause of death among young adults, and 90% of people who die by suicide have an underlying mental illness. And whereas text messages to the Federal Disaster Distress Hotline increased 1,000% in 2020, and whereas many Americans and Michiganders are experiencing mental health challenges that have never experienced before and need assistance to navigate the mental health system. And whereas this does not include the significant ripple effects on their families and friends, the impact of mental illness reaches families, neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces. And whereas an important part of educating the community and erasing stigma is raising awareness around the fact that mental health services, and inclusive of other services besides a therapist or medication prescriber. Mental health services include services and supports that help individuals with mental health illness recover holistically, inclusive of their social, vocational, and community contributions. And whereas mental health services support not only the individuals who live with a mental illness, but also are beneficial to their families, friends, and the community at large by decreasing homelessness, hospitalizations, and criminalization of the mentally ill, all of which impose a significant emotional, mental, and financial cost to our communities. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, park and recreation area, and citizen share the burden of mental illnesses and have a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. And whereas during Mental Health Awareness Month and throughout the year, Royal Oak Schools is committed to ending stigmas surrounding mental health and promoting solutions to the mental health struggles of students. And now therefore, be it resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Mental Health Awareness Month.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Cook? Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call?
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heinsma?
Yes,
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Motion passes.
thank you so much. 4.2, Board Proclamation, Foster Care Awareness Month. May I have a recommendation, Mrs. Anderson?
Whereas we recognize that nothing is more precious in our great state than the growth and development of our children, and every young person deserves a safe, loving, and stable home. And whereas the family, serving as a child's primary source of life, identity, self-esteem, and support, is the foundation of our communities and our state. And whereas in the state of Michigan, more than 10,000 children are in foster care. And whereas all children need a meaningful connection to a caring adult who becomes a supportive and lasting presence in their lives. And whereas foster parents and relatives who provide stability for children and support for their parents are unsung heroes. And whereas foster parents, foster, kinship, and adoptive families who open their hearts and homes and support children whose families are in crisis play a vital role in helping children and families heal and reconnect, launching young people into successful adulthood. And whereas there are many people in public and private organizations, the courts, and in the community who work to increase public awareness of the needs of children in and leaving foster care. And whereas we join with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to thank individuals, families, and public and private organizations that provide support and security to the children in their care, and welcome this opportunity to share the message that we are always in need of caring foster parents. Now, therefore, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education does hereby proclaim May 2023 as Foster Care Awareness Month. It is further recommended that the board encourage students, parents, staff, and community members to commit to supporting our children in any manner they can, fostering a child, mentoring young people in need of guidance, or donating time to help families and children in need.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Ms. Yashinsky. May I have a roll call, please?
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much. 4.3, Board Proclamation, Jewish American Heritage Month. Can I have a resolution, Mr. Jaworski?
Absolutely. Whereas between 1995 and 2006, Presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush made proclamations that would include Jewish American Heritage Week. And on May 20th, 2006, President George W. Bush issued the first presidential proclamation, which designated May 2006 as Jewish American Heritage Month. And whereas May is Jewish American Heritage Month, established by the United States Congress to recognize a more than 360-year history of Jewish contributions to American culture. And whereas Jewish Americans, in the face of unspeakable discrimination and adversity, have fought tirelessly to realize the promise of the nation's freedoms and to continue to teach us empathy and compassion, inspired by their parents and grandparents. And whereas Jewish Americans have helped bring about enduring progress in every aspect of society, shaping our country's character and embodying the values we hold dear. And whereas Jewish communities continue to confront hostility and bigotry, and whereas determined to confront racism, many Jewish Americans found a cause in the civil rights movement and a call for freedom and justice. And whereas we recognize the history of Jewish contributions to American culture, which acknowledges the achievements of American Jews in the fields ranging from sports and arts and entertainment to medicine, business, science, government, and military service. Now therefore be it resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education affirms May 2023 as Jewish American Heritage Month.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Anderson, may we have a roll call?
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. 4.4, Board Proclamation, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Can I have a resolution, Mrs. Cook?
Whereas the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education takes pride in recognizing May 2023 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander AANHPI Heritage Month, honoring the many significant contributions of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Island people who have enriched the history of our nation and of Washington County, and who are instrumental in its ongoing and future successes. And whereas the official designation of May as AANHPI Heritage Month was signed into law in 1992 and celebrates all Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, known as the AANHPI community, whose variety of contributions have built our culture and society. And whereas we celebrate all of those who are included within the AANHPI community, which is made up of culturally and linguistically diverse peoples, representing populations from many countries and islands. And whereas the theme for this year's observance is Advancing Leaders Through Opportunity, which reflects Royal Oak School's strong commitment to provide meaningful opportunities for innovation, critical thinking, and strategic leadership. And whereas we recognize and remain committed to the belief that opportunity is a set of circumstances that make it possible to do something, and that opportunity can be built, it can be assessed, accessed, and it can be achieved, or it can be given. And whereas we believe that the foundation of our great society and thus our great nation is known as the land of opportunity, which in turn attracts many thousands of immigrants from all over the world to come to the United States to gain access to these opportunities, establishing roots, integrating and bridging cultures to become a collective America. And whereas we acknowledge, appreciate, and continue to seek the contributions and leadership of the many Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders who have played a significant role in our local history and the community fabric of the Royal Oak School District in the fields of science, education, agriculture, government, commerce, the arts, and many others. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education does hereby proclaim May 2023 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, encouraging all residents of the Royal Oak School District to share in this special tribute by learning about and celebrating the generations of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders who continue to enrich our nation and our local community.
Thank you so much. May I have a second, please? Mr. Jaworski, may I have a roll call, Mrs. Anderson?
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski? Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, and the motion passes.
Thank you, everybody. Moving on to 4.5 donations. Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Thank you. I'd like to invite up Principal Tim Boyer to speak about the donation from the Adams PTA for his school, and a PTA rep, please.
Stephanie Barkman, she's the
Oh, okay. No, I know. I just took it as like he couldn't hear us. Yeah, I know, I understand.
And thank you for having us here tonight. This is Stephanie Barkman. She's a member of our PTA, and she helped lead this process for us to get some new playground equipment at Adams. I'm gonna let her talk a little bit about the PTA side of it, and then I'll talk a little bit about why we're so excited for this donation.
Yeah, so actually, I feel like I should mention Jen Stark, who is another PTA member. She started all this, but I kind of jumped on board. But we had a piece of equipment that was constantly breaking and just got to the point where like, okay, this is not gonna work anymore. So we actually formed like a playground committee, equipment committee, and had a couple meetings and discussed options. And we talked about, obviously there's a big special ed population at the school, so we tried to, obviously took that into account and wanted to make sure we got something that worked for everyone as much as we could. And so we came down to two pieces of equipment and we voted on them. And this is the Unity Teeter-Totter, I always say it wrong, Unity Teeter-Tunnel. I believe Oak Ridge and I think Keller too might have something similar. It seemed to work for everyone. And as for the PTA, we just wanted to obviously give the money to purchase this, along with an accessible swing too, because that's something, there's one on the preschool playground, but not the main elementary playground. So again, with the large special ed population, we thought that was important. And so the PTA, we all talked and voted, and we would like to purchase these for the school. So is there anything else I need to say?
No, that was perfect, Stephanie. So like she mentioned, we went through a whole process with the committee. It was really important that we had diverse representation on that committee to decide on what pieces of equipment. Our PTA is a huge support in a lot of different ways. This is just one of many. But I think what the through line through all their support is their recognition that we have a diverse population, and they want to make sure that the choices we make will benefit everybody. So I can't say enough about the thoughtfulness that went into this process and that in the end, now we're going to end up with 2 new pieces of equipment that'll be used by all of our students, and just really excited about that. And we thank our PTA for their donation.
Any comments, questions? So I have to ask, I'm an Adams person because I live 2 blocks from Adams. Is this that swingy thing? The,
The flying cheese. Yeah.
oh, is it, and so this,
I think it is kind of. Yes. Yeah, it turned into more of a, like, I don't want anyone to get hurt, so we're like, okay, we gotta do something else about this. Yeah, I think it swings, I can't even remember.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick has been the recipient because my neighbors will frequently text me pictures of, hey, this is broken again. I send those to Mary Beth.
Oh, yeah.
And
Jesus,
so,
that's-
yeah. Well, and thank you for the, bringing it to committee and having the conversation about how to accommodate the needs of all the students. That's huge. So, very appreciative of that. And thank you for such a wonderful donation. Appreciate that. Can I have a resolution, please? Mrs. Cook?
Let's see. Resolved that Royal Oak Schools Board of Education gratefully accepts the following donations as presented. Adams PTA, $18,000 for playground equipment.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure, but first I would also like to say thank you. I've been fortunate to be at Adams PTA, and as Dr. Ioannis knows, and it's a fantastic group of people, and we all really appreciate it. It's wonderful. Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I should have asked the timing of when the equipment is supposed to come. Is this going to be for like next school year, you think?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I think it's, we ordered it by the end of the month. It takes about 4.5 months for it to like get in and install.
Okay.
So it's like right in September.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you. Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Thank
donation
you.
to scholarship?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Mike Jacobs from Chartwells to come up and tell us a little bit about the scholarship donation. I see he has the giant foam check with him tonight. Okay.
Thanks. I'm Mike with the Chartwells Food Service Director, and it's my privilege to present to you tonight this donation of $2,000 to Royal Oak Schools from Chartwells. There's not a lot to say other than, here's $2,000. Hopefully it'll go to someone good.
Any comments, questions? Can I have a resolution, please? Recommendation? Mrs. Anderson?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education gratefully accepts the following donation as presented, Chartwell's $2,000 scholarship. Thank you.
Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Cook? May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Motion passes, and thank you again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacobs. And I know I always joke about taking the big check to the bank. It'd be just kind of fun to even put it in the machine or just present it.
Put it through.
4.6, Royal Oak Schools Teacher of the Year recognition. Mr. Walensky?
Thank you, Ms. Van Heitzman. Yes, 4.6 is our Teacher of the Year recognition, and 4.7 is our Support Person of the Year recognition. I'll talk about both. Each year we participate, I'll start with the Teacher of the Year recognition. Each year we participate, and it's called the Oakland County Outstanding Teacher of the Year program, sponsored by Oakland Schools. And tonight, each year we do this, but tonight we'd like to recognize 3 teachers we nominated through the 27 districts that participate in this. We've participated in this since 2007, which is quite a while. And the plaques that are in here are flow-over plaques because the 2 in the hallway are full. So hopefully you take a look at the people since 2007 that have been nominated. Participation in this program involves our identification of 1 teacher from the high school level, 1 from the middle school, and 1 from the elementary level who are just examples of high standards of excellence in this profession. And we have a lot. We have I think it's over 360 teachers in this district, and we have many excellent teachers. People are in 20 and 30 years of teaching who are excellent, but once a year, we just take some time to nominate 3 that are examples, serve as examples of this excellence. The 3 individuals we select for this distinction have to be nominated by a colleague with letters of support from a parent and current or former student, and the building principal oversees the process and submits the nomination. Here this evening is our high school teacher of the year, and at this time I'd like to ask Principal Sharita Lewis if she would come up and introduce and say just a few things about Colin Campbell, our high school teacher of the year.
Good afternoon.
Come on up, Colin.
I didn't know if you were supposed to join me or not. I am more than elated to be here tonight to talk about Colin, who epitomizes the mentality of putting students first. Students actually talk about how wonderful his class is and how much they enjoy it, which, I mean, that's a dream. It's a dream for a teacher to have. It's easy to see that he truly enjoys teaching and that he loves making a positive impact upon our students at Royal Oak High School. Colin has demonstrated exemplary teaching throughout this year at Royal Oak High School and probably years before me. And even in the face of difficulties this year, Colin has maintained a commitment to his students. He's maintained that commitment with providing them, again, with excellent learning. And his commitment has also extended to the football field with our football players. And Colin is a team player. He cares about kids. He cares about Royal Oak High School. He delivers quality instruction. And he's an excellent mentor to our students. And so for that and many more reasons, I am honored to call him my colleague and also recommend him for Teacher of the Year. Speech.
Would you like to say anything, Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, sure.
Do you really need it?
It's fair. Well, the first thing I want to say is I'm honored. We have tremendous teachers at the high school, and it means a lot that I was part of a team. My department, the social studies department, is tremendous. We have excellent educators, and I am better because I get to teach with them every single day. And the other group that I would like to thank would be our special ed department. Without them, I'm not as good of a teacher. I'm not providing that quality of instruction without their support, without their help, without our co-teachers, our paras. Without them, we're not providing the well-rounded instruction. So it means a lot, but it's those folks that I think continue to help and really make sure that we provide good quality instruction for every kid that walks through our doors. So the biggest thing I would say is thank you to those people that I get to work with every day and get to work with really wonderful population of students and get to do that every single day.
Mr. Campbell, is there anybody with you this evening that you'd like to recognize?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to recognize my mom and my dad are both here. So I very much appreciate their support, and I'd probably be half the person without them. So I endlessly appreciate the things they've done for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody, comments, questions? Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate all that you do for our students. And I was happy we were able to join you as well at the Oakland Schools Teacher of the Year event with all those fabulous teachers that were there. And I'll try not to cry. But just listening to the statements read by the teachers and those who nominated them, the passion that you put forth every single day is just overwhelming and so appreciated by the students and by people like myself and families and parents. And Like I said, without you guys, we wouldn't be here. But thank you so much, and well-deserved honor. Thank you so much. Mr. Walensky, can I actually ask you to read the other names as well? Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'd be happy to. We have two other people, as I said. Unfortunately, neither one could be here this evening. They had prior commitments, but I do want to say a few things about, first, our elementary school teacher of the year, Kendra Bath. She's a kindergarten teacher at Northwood Elementary, and I believe she has taught kindergarten, Marianne, you can correct me if I'm wrong, at Northwood Elementary for 22 years. And I know she has an excellent reputation, very beloved. In fact, Marianne Campbell was one of the people who nominated, one of her nominations for the award, and she wrote in her letter that Kendra is a gift to the teaching profession. She is highly organized, nurturing, and calm. Her kindergarten children know what to do and what is expected of them. She knows how to challenge them to meet their ability level while remaining developmentally appropriate and embracing their individual learning styles. She loves her students and families, and they absolutely love her in return. So that's Kendra Bath, our elementary school teacher of the year. Our middle school teacher of the year was Tim Foreman. And Tim, as you know, is I think you know, is a music teacher at Royal Oak Middle School. I had the pleasure of working closely with him. He was Marion Campbell's predecessor as the ROEA president, and I can't think of a kinder person. He's in his 23rd year of teaching for Royal Oak Schools, and as I said, he teaches music at the middle school. Tom Pavlovich, another music teacher at the middle school, wrote in his nomination letter that Tim is empathetic, caring, and excels at getting the most effort from an age of kids that can seem intimidating to normal society. I was gonna tweak that word normal, and I just left it in. He is a wonderful person and a teacher who is extremely deserving of this award. So just congratulations to Colin, Kendra, and Tim for this distinction that you deserve. As I said, can I proceed to item 4.7 on our agenda as support person of the year? In addition to 3 outstanding teachers of the year, we annually recognize 1 support person of the year who exemplifies excellence among our support staff. And we have over 150 people in the role of support staff. Like our teachers, too many to acknowledge individually, but so much of our success as a school district is dependent on them. And this year's support person of the year is here this evening, Jessica Conklin, who works as a paraprofessional at Adams Elementary. And at this time, I'd like to ask Tim Boyer to introduce and say a few words on her behalf.
I was sitting here at a different point, receiving a similar award, and I think I'm more nervous to present this award to Jessica than I was to receive it for myself. I even wrote notes, which I typically don't write notes, and I conveniently left it on the printer back at Adams. So it's not going to be much help, but what I can do is speak about Jessica. She is an amazing member of our Adams team. Anybody who's familiar with Adams knows that we have our special ed program is a big piece of our culture, a big piece of our what makes us proud. And part of that is having a huge support staff that are all really great. And within a week of being at Adams, when I started in October, I knew there was something really special about Jessica. I remember seeing her for the first time, and she had this large group of children around her as she was walking through the hallway. I would come to find out that that was pretty routine. You'll never see Jessica without students. She's a parapro in our ASD program. She is assigned to work with some of our students, but she doesn't stop there. She goes way above and beyond. She supports students in the program and out of the program. If you ever get a chance to speak with her, you'll see just how passionate she is about the whole child. I had a chance to sit down with her a couple days ago and just kind of reflect on this school year. And I walked out of that meeting feeling inspired. And I think that's something that if you ask anybody who works at Adams, any family member, any student that works with Jessica, they'll have the same feeling when you walk away from a conversation with Jessica. She's so passionate about what we do. She's so passionate about our students. And when I think of this idea of the support person of the year, I can't think of a better recipient than Jessica Conklin. I think when I'm speaking to my staff before this meeting and I'm asking them the things I should include, overall, overwhelmingly, it was her ability to be a team player and the support she gives to her team. So I think if you match that with what she does for students, we're really grateful to have her. So I want to introduce Jessica Conklin as our support person of the year.
Thank you so much. I have a tissue because this has been very emotional for me. It has meant so much. I mean, especially Dr. Ioannis. I mean, he knew, he's known me for a long time. He's known me as a parent, PAC representative. He's seen all of that. So for Mr. Boyer to be with us for such a short time and nominate me for an award like this, it has meant everything to me. And so I did write a little bit. So I have a son that he attended Adams. He's now at the Royal Oak High School, thriving. And I knew pretty soon when he was attending Adams that eventually I want to be there. I want to be doing this. I want to be on his team or on someone else's team, supporting them the way he has been supported to help them thrive and just help them step out of their comfort zones and their routines, and so they could be as successful as he has been. And Adams has always been you hear everyone when they speak of Adams, the community. You feel like it's a family. Everyone is included. You never feel, even in first grade, they're just accepting. When they had I tell everyone about the first grade concert. We have a friend that she may have ran off stage a couple times, grabbed a microphone, but her peers, they never stop singing. They never laugh at her because that's their friend. That's the person that they've been with, and they see how we support them in the building, so they see her as no different. That's just who she is. So I knew when I had my interview with Jane and with Jason, they gave me a few options, but I told him, I'm like, where I want to be. I want to definitely be at Adams. But I have received so many heartfelt congratulations over the last couple weeks, and all I can tell them is that this has definitely meant everything to me. And it feels truly amazing to feel seen and recognized for the work you do, especially when you love it so much. And I absolutely love my job. I love my work. Even on the hard days, those are the days, the ones that challenge us to think outside of the box and find new ways to support our students so that the next day they can be better, and so can we. And then I couldn't do it alone. Adams Elementary is a very special place with an amazing staff. My ideas are always welcomed and valued. We work as a team, and our students also come from extremely supportive families as well. And it is because of all these reasons that I am able to help our students be so successful, and why I love my work so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Well, I just want to say it was a pleasure to go over and surprise you at Adams, but I have to say that when Dr. Ioannis and I walk in the building and call an all-staff surprise staff meeting, made a few people nervous, but it was for all the good reasons. And
Yeah, there was a buzz, like, do you know?
So I just want to share my congratulations to you as we did that day when we surprised you there. And I've heard so many wonderful things about you and your work, and have come to know you better. So thank you for your service to all of the kids at Adams, and certainly to our entire district. So this is well deserving.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the parapros that yourself and all those in the district. I think they're kind of unsung heroes. They're just doing the work, right? And it's just such an important work. And I know it's hard to find, and recruit and hire parapros, but we appreciate you so much, and I'm so glad you're part of the Adams family and our family. Thank you.
Thank you.
4.8, Common Ground. Did you want to take this, Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Sure, I'd like to invite up Mr. Kapuscinski, who is here from Common Ground. I had the pleasure of meeting with him as well as another colleague of his, just to share with us a very important and necessary resource here in our Royal Oak community. We've known a lot about the Common Ground program and name for years, but I was very excited in that meeting just to hear about the number of changes and actually the flexibility that the program has had in the last year or so to better meet the needs of the current students and families in our community. And so after talking with him at length and sharing information with our administrators and such, we've invited him to come and share a few thoughts about Common Ground with the Board of Education and our entire community. So, Mr. Kapuscinski.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here. My name is Jeff Kapuscinski. I am the Chief External Relations Officer for Common Ground. I think most people by now know who Common Ground is. I certainly know that we're well known within this community, probably most likely for our 1-800 Resource and Crisis Helpline, the line that people call when they're struggling with day-to-day issues or perhaps even suicidal thoughts. People may also know that we operate walk-in crisis services at the Resource and Crisis Center in Pontiac. But what people may not know is that we were recently named by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to be the contractor for answering 988 calls throughout the state of Michigan. As many of you know, 988 is the mental health equivalent of 911. So anywhere in the country, people can pick up a phone, dial 988, and get the intervention that they're seeking for their personal crisis. If they do that in the state of Michigan, they are going to be talking to a Common Ground employee. The other thing that you may not know about Common Ground is that we recently launched a behavioral health urgent care just a year ago. The service is currently provided virtually, but we hope to ultimately add a physical location to the service. So I think I just talked about this, I'm sorry, one slide behind. So for behavioral health urgent care, in looking at the community, we know that we get about 8,500 people that come into the crisis center each year seeking services. When we do an analysis, we have calculated that the potential number of people requiring face-to-face crisis services in any given year is about 29,000 people. That's a big gap. And so we came up with a concept to implement a behavioral health urgent care. The concept is very similar to the physical health urgent cares that you see on almost every street corner. However, this one is dedicated to people suffering from behavioral health issues. So this is ideal for people coming in who perhaps are struggling with anxiety, perhaps depression, even extreme grief, or maybe they can't get in to see their regular provider, psychiatrist or therapist. It's an opportunity for them to speak to trained clinicians to help work with them to receive the help that they need and align them with services. We get a lot of folks that don't have a connection to a therapist or a psychiatrist that we're able to help through this new service. The services that we provide include psychiatric evaluation, short-term prescriptions. The staffing for this new program is that we have what we call master's level clinicians that interact with the patients. These are folks that have a master's degree in either social work, psychology, or counseling. But we also staff our urgent care with nurse practitioners, which, as you probably know, are eligible or capable of prescribing medications, obviously under the direction of our medical director. These are known as bridge medications, something that can get the person through whatever they're currently dealing with until they can get into their provider for a longer-term solution or prescription. How it works, as I said, it's a virtual service. It is accessed through our website at commongroundhelps.org. When you go there, you immediately are met with a pop-up that will take you directly to the urgent care page. For new patients, we ask them to call. The early days of our program suggested that people were having difficulty navigating the site. So we've instituted a call number so that people can get registered and get right in. Wait times are under 5 minutes to see a professional therapist once people enter that clinic. For returning people, there is a portal that they can log into and again, get right into the waiting room. So I have a short video that we've actually put together that's currently playing on our website that we think will provide some information that perhaps maybe I haven't. It's only 2 minutes.
The behavioral health urgent care is for everyone. It's absolutely a game changer. The access to care is unlike any other. There's no stigma, and it's very affordable. It's a win-win-win.
Common Ground is a full-service behavioral health crisis services organization. At Common Ground, we help people move from crisis to hope. Behavioral health urgent care is the most important service that we offer right now. It's virtual, which means that a person can be anywhere in the state of Michigan and can log into their computer, go through the app, and see a master's level licensed mental health clinician and a prescriber within less than 30 minutes. It does meet a demand that currently people are waiting, sometimes a long time to get in to see a prescriber. You go to Common Ground's website, which is www.commongroundhelps.org, and click on the behavioral health urgent care link.
If you're a new patient, you'll dial the phone number on the website. If you're a returning patient, you're going to click into your patient portal. You're going to have a digital assistant help you make the appointment. You log in and see the practitioner. Access to mental health care is the #1 barrier for people not seeking treatment, and this is the access.
Anxiety and depression are the top 2 reasons that people seek treatment. And we want to make it easy for them to seek treatment so they're not suffering alone at home.
If you or someone you know needs mental health treatment, just access the urgent care and see what they have to offer. The people that work at the urgent care are compassionate, they're empathetic, they're kind, and they're here to help.
So obviously, I've already given you the web address. We have a telephone number that people can reach out to us, or the walk-in service is available at the Resource and Crisis Center in Pontiac at 1200 North Telegraph. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Mrs. Anderson?
I saw a little note on there that says serves patients 12 and up. Can you elaborate on what services are available to students?
Students 12 and up can access, obviously with parent approval and support, because this is a program that accepts insurance. So obviously the parent would have to put in the insurance payments as they would visiting any other therapist or clinician. But yes, then kids, as long as they're 12 years or older, can participate in this program and get the help that they need.
To follow up, what if parents wanted to talk to you? Like, would you be a good resource for parents to call about the students, thinking that they might need help?
You know, if they're looking for recommendations or referrals, that's really what our Resource and Crisis Helpline is there for. The 1-800 number, 1-800-231-1176. That number is all over our literature. It's a number that people can call for other sources and places that people can go for the specific help that they need.
Mr. Jaworski?
Mrs. Anderson asked most of my questions, which led me to another question. If a student is seeking your assistance through Common Ground and they don't have their parents' permission to do so, is there a way for your organization to lead that child into a direction where they can get the help that they're seeking?
Yes, that would either be through the Resource and Crisis Helpline or 988. Neither of those programs require parental consent or have any payments attached to them. Those are free services available to anyone. So they can call, get a referral, or just talk to someone if they're struggling.
Perfect, thank you.
Ms. Usinski?
Not so much a question, but more a comment, right, in the spirit of our resolution earlier in the meeting and everything too. I was a staff member at Oxford High School during the shooting, and so a year and a half ago, when I was feeling overwhelmed and not connected to the resources that we needed, I called the helpline. And so just like I said, kind of, I think in the spirit of us acknowledging these things, using these things, I'm just so thankful that this is a resource that helped my community then, is present for us now, and it's just incredible the way that you've expanded to help people across Michigan, because it was just such an incredible help at the time, connected me with people that I needed to talk to, got me, advocates, checked in as many times as I needed them to. All of it was very much on my terms, but answered questions that I needed at a really difficult time. So we're just so thankful.
Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. We had people on the ground literally within a couple of hours in Oxford. And we, again, were selected by the state of Michigan to open the Resiliency Center, of which you spoke, in that community that is in existence today, that continues to serve that community.
Mrs. Cook?
I just want to say that the work that your organization is doing is so very important. I was struck by you saying that people could get help, did you say within 5 minutes? That's amazing, because I think that one of the things that is often so difficult is when you're in a crisis to try to navigate the system. You're already struggling, right? So I really appreciate your presentation today, and just wondering, how this information is being disseminated through our schools so that people can know about this and know where they can reach out for help.
Well, the superintendent was kind enough to connect us with some counselors throughout the school district, so they are well aware of this program. Most of them probably knew about it before I showed up, but we try to do whatever outreach we can to get down to the ground level and talk to students directly whenever and wherever we can. Obviously, we promote our services the best we can through our website and social media. But thank you for your comments.
So after our meeting, I was able to speak with our administrative team. I also handed out the flyers that you provided to our PTA council, which would be the presidents and officers of all of our PTA organizations. Those flyers are available in a hard copy in all of our schools currently. We also distributed the digital copy, which you provided us as well. That is in the hands of all of our administrators and then down to their counselors and support staff in every building as well. And we have information on our website. I'd like to be able to link this presentation that you shared tonight to that as well.
Please do.
And if anyone has questions, they can certainly contact their principal or us here at the board office or your organization directly. So I just want to say thank you for an amazing resource. As a teacher, special education teacher in this county, there's just been a long-standing relationship in my professional life with Common Ground and students and families over time. And I'm, again, thrilled that you've been flexible and been able to meet the current needs of students with these new services. So thank you again.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. I can only reiterate what everybody else has said. I've done some things for Common Ground for years, been a huge supporter. I also work on Royal Oak Youth Assistance Board, so I shared that information with our Royal Oak Youth Assistance Board, because the challenges of connecting, right, with somebody are real, because there's long wait times and so forth, et cetera. So just the ability, like Mrs. Cook mentioned, when you're having a crisis, you need to talk to somebody right now, not in a week from now or not whenever. So that's so important and so key, and so grateful for this expansion of the program. And I did want to ask one additional question. Do you also receive any kind of external funding? I know you referenced that you can have insurance, but is there also external funding?
Common Ground does receive funding through contracts, state contracts, federal contracts, as well as grants. I will tell you, however, that the urgent care program was funded completely out of donations.
Well, and we will continue to promote in all the venues that we're participating in. I think it's really important. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to reports, 5.1, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dr. Martin, Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Don't pull it up until I say Joe. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the board meeting. I don't know what I'm thinking. Okay, so the DEI report today. So I've been working with Dr. Ioannis and the curriculum department, met with all the school principals in the district last week, and we have identified teachers from each building to assist us in the development of professional development curriculum for the 23-24 school year. These PDs will be required of all Royal Oak teachers, so we'll be able to say that our teachers are fully trained in XYZ. We also hope to develop optional PDs as we go along this process for people who wish to go deeper with such topics as anti-racism and understanding privilege, but that's, down the road. May 23rd is the date. We hope to do this, and so I know that Ben Roeder sent me a letter to look at today to send out to them so we can make sure that they're coming and we'll get subs for them so we can sit in and have sort of a quote-unquote in-service that day. So we're looking forward to that, and then we hope to maybe round about again in the summer, meet again, and do it for the second semester of the 23-24 school year. So that's going really well, and I really enjoy talking with the principals, like Ms. Fitzpatrick goes around and talks to the schools. I'm gonna try to be more present in the schools moving forward, just so people can see me. Human Rights Council is going very well. We pretty much all have our bylaws almost finished, so we're very excited about that. Now we are looking at the process to add students to the Human Rights Council, basically high school students. So if anyone knows of any students that are interested, please forward their names and their emails to me so I can send them a link to the application for the Human Rights Council. It's nothing big, but it is a process. So we want to get as many interested students that would like to do that as possible. So again, if any of you know students, and I'm going to send it out to the high school tomorrow, just have them send me their information. I'll make sure they get a link and instructions and information about serving on the Human Rights Council. Okay, so Joe, you're going to be up in a minute. Our Jedi Council is determining a meeting date for our last meeting of the year. It will be once school is out, so I think everybody's looking forward to that. Our last meeting was really good. We had Stephen Sneed come out from Oakland Schools. He's the assessment person. To talk to us about assessments after we had, at a previous meeting, a very robust discussion about fair and equitable assessments as we went through the long-range planning process. So, Joe, you're up. So the inquiries for the session that Stephen started out with us, we wanted to answer three big. Know if standardized assessments give us accurate, useful information. What scientific criticism exists of standard assessments? And how can we engage students in meaningful assessment that honors their voice, choice, and funds of knowledge? So this was a great intro. Wait a minute. Don't panic. Oh, go back. Okay, so I'm going to give you some questions about assessments like Mr. Sneed did and see if you're as surprised as I did. So we're going to do a little assessment game. So, which is a better predictor of success in college? Standardized tests like SAT, ACT, or cumulative high school GPA? What say you? There is a right answer. GPA? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. You're correct. I have no prizes, Tim. Approximately how many colleges no longer require SAT or ACT as an undergraduate application requirement? I'm asking the questions. Yeah, no longer required. I know, I told her earlier, so she can't play. You ready to see it? Because it freaked me out. 80% of all colleges and universities in the United States in every category no longer require SAT or ACT. Ms. Fitzpatrick and I had a conversation that I did not have the answer to in terms of, then what happens to all those merit scholars and things like that are based on that. I don't know. But I do know that 80% now don't require it. So perhaps maybe you can take it and test at a certain level and still get those things. Okay, one last question. Ooh, I almost gave you the answer. What is the difference in SAT scores between SAT scores between wealthy and poor students significant, small, or non-existent? I heard a lot of significant. You are correct. So these are just a few of the things that we went through. He talked, because within the long-range planning process, there was, and the goal wording has changed, but at one point it was something of the effect of that our students will test higher and above normal and all that. And then we got into this conversation about assessment. So there are some things that, so there's some tests we have to take as a state, but then we can also use various summative assessments, I think, in the classroom to get a better idea of how our students are performing. So that's kind of where he went with that. And if you thought that was mind-blowing, the rest of the presentation was exactly the same. So excited about that. And last but not least, Juneteenth plans are coming along. Joe, you can pull it. Oh, here. I have handouts. You will see that there's a QR code on this flyer, and this is not official. The official ones are being printed and done electronically, but when you scan the QR code, it will take you right up to this page that Mr. Ioannis has pulled up. And it's basically our agenda for the day and all the things that are going to be happening. This year we've added a freedom walk with a certain amount of steps. And I don't know the significance of the steps, but I will let you know. But it's going to be on Monday this year because the 18th is still Father's Day. So it'll be on Monday instead of Sunday. And it will be the same time, 3 to 8, as we did have last year. And we have, if you look on the, we have some new additions this year. We have a speaker coming to talk about, aspects of Black history and Juneteenth. We have a scavenger hunt. We have basketball and things, and we're going to have more food trucks this year. So looking forward to it. Again, Monday, June 19th. A lot of celebrations are going on, so if people can't make this one, I urge you to check out Detroit or Madison Heights or something, just because it's an important celebration for the African American community, and we'd love to see you there. And that's all I have for today.
So I just want to add, thank you, Dr. Martin. The significance of the professional development team that you're pulling together is that, as we go out and talk to staff, we know that we have so many who have received training either formally through the district at Oakland Schools level or in their own colleges and universities. And we also know that many of our staff often raise their hand and ask to be presenters and to share with their colleagues and to take on that responsibility. So the group that you're pulling together on May 23rd will be definitely a hardworking group, I know, and also very impactful on next school year's professional development for all staff. One of the goals that we had when we made the decision to hire a DEI coordinator in the district was really to do that, coordinate all the efforts that we have occurring, and then ensure that our training is consistent. With the high number of teachers who have left and new administrators and teachers coming in, it's essential that we're tracking those core learnings for all of our staff members in the district, and this process will also assist with that. So thank you for taking that on, and in advance, I'd like to thank our staff members that will be attending this lesson writing workshop and presenting to their colleagues in the future. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I will also add, too, that while no district is perfect, Royal Oak is doing a lot. And when you said that coordinating word, I'm like, man, it's like an octopus. So we're doing a lot. I'm very proud of us. We are moving forward, and if you check around some of the things we have done, just districts around us, they're not really doing, the deep dives that we are doing. So I'm very proud to be a part of this district.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Jaworski?
Yeah, Dr. Martin, you mentioned that the city is looking for students to serve on the HRC.
Yes.
How many students are they looking for, and what role will those students
I think
play?
at least 2. And if you want, in the description, it says what, kind of what they're looking for and the time commitment and all like that. I could send it to you.
And then when they say students, are they speaking of just high school students
Just high
or
school, 'cause
college
it's kind of
students
a
as well?
deep- no, just high school.
Okay.
So we want them to be Royal Oak students that help us with this commission.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And is that information for the students to apply on the website as well?
I will check, but what was sent out, because I don't know if we have a website yet as the HRC, to be honest with you, because we don't have bylaws officially yet. But I know that the one young lady sent it to a couple of folks over at the high school, but I can send, like I said, I can send each board member, so you will have the application and all the information right in front of you. So if you know students too, because I know everyone has kids in every school, so. We just want as many qualified candidates as we can get so we can have some good, students to serve, because it will be similar to our students here, 1 year and, X amount of hours and stuff like that.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I had a quick question.
Ms. Usinski?
Just to clarify, so on the 23rd, when you're meeting with the staff, that's to develop the first semester
Yes.
PD? Is it going to be given only exclusively by Royal Oak staff, or is that possibly also going to be?
We're going to definitely have to bring people
bring in experts
We just
and-
don't
yeah.
have the capacity.
Okay.
When we were doing this, I told Dr. Iwanis, I said, I can't teach them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
but yeah, nor
definitely,
should you.
we're going to have to access some of our resources, and quite frankly, Oakland Schools is a very good, without having to pay that. Maybe we'll bring in another person, like Mary Beth Ms. Fitzpatrick is bringing in Shenandoah, Creflo again to scoop up the second half of our staff. So I absolutely is the
Okay.
answer to your question.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to 5.2, student representatives to the board.
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to just make an announcement for all of our students this year. We're looking for new juniors and seniors to be a part as student representatives to the Board of Education for next school year. The process will launch next week. We're working on a video announcement for the high school. We have a brochure this year with a QR code, so students can look at that, scan the QR code with their phones or devices, and take them straight to the application. And then we would like to follow up with our interviews with board members and Mrs. Lewis and I to secure some members for the board for both regular board meetings and the finance and facility meetings for next school year. So for all our high school students and parents out there, please encourage your student to apply and get involved in our Board of Education's work. And certainly we need the student voice as we continue our work and make decisions for the district. And we're looking forward to that process launching again, as I said, next week.
Thank you. Moving on to 6, communications. Mrs. Anderson?
We have received several communications this month about senior activities. We received quite a few. Allison Vesprini, Jennifer Van Every, Monica Kitchen, Stephen Webb, Kelly Vesprini, Deborah Hendren, Melissa Wineclaw, Nancy Belford, Stacy Oside, Sarah Mullally, Nikki Van Cleve, and Lisa Vitale Hess. Then regarding district communications, Shannon M. Baynar, and regarding athletics, Tricia Bellinger, regarding student enrollment, Ida Sandoval, regarding how their brother felt supported in Royal Oak schools, that was Irene Jenkins, and regarding student behavior on the playground after school, Rebecca Moore.
Thank you. Moving on to number 7, public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, a person may address the board on an agenda or non-agenda item by completing a note card located inside the boardroom and place the card in the basket prior to the citizen public comment period. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you need more time, you are offered a second opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting with an additional 3 minutes. Please address the board as a whole and not individually. Public comment is not intended for the exchange of dialogue. This is a time for members of the public to express their views. We are paying attention to your comments and appreciate them. However, school board members do not respond to public comment during the meeting. Questions that arise from public comment shall be referred to the superintendent or their designee for review, study, and possible future response. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. I'm looking at we have no public comment today. Moving on to consent agenda. Can I have, we have 8.1 personnel changes, 8.2 payment of expenses, and that is it. Do we have any additions, deletions? Seeing none, consent agenda is passed. Moving on to 9, matters for discussion action. 9.1, Superintendent, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. Well, we certainly have a lot to celebrate in the month of May and again in June with all of our student recognitions and other celebrations. I would like to thank the Board of Education for all of the proclamations that they read and supported this evening for our community. I also want to give a huge shout out to all of our staff members in Royal Oak Schools. We know that our students and families are in very good hands, and we tonight with our Teacher of the Year and Support Person of the Year recognitions, along with just the day-to-day work that all of our staff members, coaches, administrators, and support staff put into the district, that, you know, we couldn't be the quality school district and a community of excellence without them. So I want to thank them during this month, but certainly our thanks goes out to them all year long. I also want to draw the board's attention to item 9.1.1, which is the first reading of revised and replaced or recommended policies and guidelines. As a reminder, we work with Neola for our policies. They are an organization that gives us our recommendations for consideration each month. I was able to hold a policy meeting with members of the Board of Education to look at these policies for the first reading, and we are recommending them as presented in the board packet.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation? Ms. Yashinsky?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the first reading of the policies and administrative guidelines being revised, replaced, and/or recommended as presented in the board packet.
Can I have a second? Mrs. Anderson? Any discussion? Mrs. Anderson?
I just want to say the policy committee was very busy. There was a lot of reading.
No, and I appreciate them for doing that review. So, may I have a roll call, Mrs. Anderson?
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. 9.2, curriculum instruction. Dr. Ioannis?
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heitzma. I wanted to talk a little bit about our MyKIP process. We had a short presentation last month, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. The MyKIP process is the Michigan Integrated Continuous Improvement Process for Michigan schools to help with their district and school building improvement plans. So we had a small team that was going to Oakland schools for about 3 sessions where we started to work with some of the school data that we had, both academic, behavior, and also attendance data. And with looking at all that data, part of the purpose was to begin to establish an area of inquiry that we could engage in through the MyKIP process. We also had building level leadership teams engage in what's called a 5 whys root analysis, so that we could review what their school leadership teams felt was a need that was growing within Royal Oak schools. part of what we talked about in all of those meetings and something we continue to say moving forward when we're talking about the MyKIP process. We're talking about focusing on the whole child. We're talking about focusing on continuous improvement and then taking a systems approach. So this is why we're excited about this process. Definitely engages directly and connects directly with our long-range planning. I wanted to talk a little bit about the area of inquiry that we landed on through that whole process. So Royal Oak Schools will establish and implement an SEL, social emotional learning framework built with professional learning and consistent expectations for teachers, staff, and students. So that was the area of inquiry for the MyKIP process that we landed on after reviewing all of our buildings' 5 whys root analysis. Now the next step is expanding our Royal Oak team. So we have reached out and invited teachers and staff members from all of our buildings to now take part and join us in this process, because Oakland schools at this point, after going through those sessions, the school districts work now at the district and building level to continue the MyKIP process. So our first meeting will take place next Tuesday afternoon, and we're excited to welcome our staff and teachers from all of our buildings now into this MyKIP process. One last, excuse me, reminder, as far as goals for the MyKIP process during this school year, we just have to have one goal in the MyKIP platform, which we will definitely hit that goal, especially since we've identified that area of inquiry. And then we know that the 23-24 year, we have to have all of our district goals in, along with the strategies and activities that are connected to that work. So we're definitely excited about that process. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Lego summer camp, or I'm sorry, the Lego spring camp that we had. Very successful event, but I wanted to share some numbers with that. We had over 250 students attend the spring break Lego camp. This was for science, technology, engineering, and math. This took place at all 6 of our elementary buildings, and we also had it take place at ROMS. So we were looking at students in K through 8 that had an opportunity to engage in this week-long camp. We had 30 Royal Oak teachers and paraprofessionals that also took part in this process, which was wonderful to have our own people kind of working with our students within our schools. Part of the Lego education program is that they provided some mandatory, I think, 2-hour professional development for these parapros and teachers to help them better understand how to use the Legos to kind of engage students around these activities. At ROMS, there was more of a focus on robotics with the Lego building, but still definitely connected to that overall STEM approach. And Mrs. Nipper has been working really hard, principal at Northwood, to help organize all of these dates. And we do have upcoming half days on May 26th. And we have flyers already sent out, and families have, I think, until the 18th of May to identify an interest in being part of the half-day camp on May 26th. And then we'll have another opportunity on that last half day of school to continue to have this Lego robotics opportunity for our families and students. So we're definitely excited about that. And I think it's going to coincide nicely on the half days, you know, the one that it can help some families carries over from end of the day up until 3:30. I have a few more updates, if that's okay. Let me turn our attention to the screen here. So as always, every month, we're proud to talk about our monthly Insight into Curriculum or Insight into Learning video series. We really wanted to focus this month on equity within the classroom and really providing inclusive learning environments for all of our students. We've talked a lot as a school district and even within our curriculum department, the importance of providing high levels of engagement and engaging activities. So we wanted to have this video focus on how our teachers in our school district are creating these high-level engaging classroom opportunities that are inclusive for all students.
Some of the ways that I make students, or I hope to make students feel a part of the classroom, are really building communication and listening skills early on in the school year.
One thing that I like to do at the very beginning of the school year is set student-led expectations. So I want to know what makes them feel heard and comfortable in my classroom, and so we talk a lot about respect and empathy and understanding and how to listen without having something necessarily that they have to say next, so that they're really absorbing what other people are saying, where they're coming from. I start off every morning by asking my students what's good. So that basically gives them the opportunity to share anything that's going on in their lives. It really gives them buy-in to the class and allows other people to kind of see what they have in common with some people they may not have known they had something in common with.
In my classes, to highlight and honor differences, I think one of the biggest things throughout the year that's important is that they are writing every day, because so much of who we are can really come out in our writing. So they've always got prompts and things that are related directly to the course, but there's always time built in for students to write about themselves.
Activities that the math department as a whole at Royal Oak Middle School are really passionate about are from the Building Thinking Classrooms book. We actually did a book study and then started implementing a lot of these activities within our classrooms, just to try and eliminate those social barriers for students, eliminate some of the fear that they have with math. And one of the big activities is thinking tasks, non-curricular and curricular. So we always start with a non-curricular thinking task. For example, Mindful Mondays. There's a prompt on my board when students come in, something that they can reflect on and think about themselves. And as the year goes on, we do find that more and more and more students want to participate in those non-curricular tasks, excuse me. And then we build into maybe some math tasks. So we have our daily set game, and students are able to learn that game and then participate as a group in their whiteboards on solving some of those set matches.
The other activity that I had started piloting last year that I'm now doing this year at this point is reading a book called Flying Lessons. So in Flying Lessons, it is a whole variety of different short stories by diverse authors. There was a movement called We Need Diverse Books, and they put together all of these short stories that feature strong protagonists around my students' age, usually around 6th to 8th grade, and they come from all different places all around the world, different abilities. There's a story about a student who is in a unified basketball league. There's a story about a student who his family had to move here from Cuba, and so it really highlights different stories from all around the world. And all of my students that I piloted with last year were able to find themselves in at least one of the stories in the book, which sometimes with some of the like standard reading stories that are featured in some of the textbooks, they can't always do that. And so this gives them a unique opportunity to hear about other cultures and also be able to find themselves in a book.
For students to have a really safe space coming in and just sharing from their own personal experience or from their heart. And then from there, we're able to build in our academic tasks. So working at board groups, one of the suggestions and strategies from the Building Thinking Classrooms book that we've really taken on is having no more than 3 students per group and 1 marker. So there's 1 writer, and if you are writing, you are not writing your own ideas. You are actually listening to someone else share what they think, and you are writing down what they are saying.
Once you aren't worrying about anxieties about who you are, but rather can focus on your learning with creativity, that's what matters. And so kids need to feel seen and valued and heard in order for that to be, to really manifest itself in creativity in the classroom. Our ELA department has really done a great job in a number of ways of getting new and fresh and varied experiences of all kinds of people out there for kids to experience to broaden their own horizons.
So as you can see, we're definitely working hard to provide all of our students these opportunities to really engage in some higher level thinking. Opportunities, which is definitely exciting. I wanted to spend a little bit of time going through and talking about our summer school offerings. Again, we've mentioned it previously, but I kind of wanted to go through it. We have a few slides just to review, since we're getting much closer to the May 22nd deadline that would be for families to take part in the opportunities that we're providing for summer school at all levels. So at the elementary level, we'll have two locations. Adams and Oakland will be the two locations for summer school. As you can see from the slides, Adams, Oak Ridge, and Upton families will be asked to attend Adams for summer learning, and then Northwood, Keller, and Oakland families will be asked to attend Oakland Elementary. If we have any students who are families that are signed up for summer care that happen to be from Northwood, Keller, or Oakland, they will be able to transfer the summer learning opportunity to Adams so that they can go from the summer learning opportunity right to the full day or the rest of the day latchkey offering. Same thing with our ESY program, which is extended school year for our students with special needs. If we have students, since that's also taking place at Adams, if there are families with students that are getting ESY services in Northwood, Keller, or Oakland, they will be able to attend Adams to get those services as well. So 2 3-week sessions, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 12. The course offerings, of course, we have the math and the English language arts, but we also last year started some teacher-inspired courses. It was nice to see some of our teacher leaders wanted to teach classes around social emotional learning, some fairy tales, ELA type classes, and this year we will incorporate some of the Lego opportunities as well. So 244 students registered so far, which is pretty good, but again, we have till May 22nd, so any families out there, this would be for students exiting DK to 4th grade. They would be eligible for the elementary summer school program. Luckily, we have many grants that are able to pay for this opportunity, so this is a free opportunity as well for families. At the middle school, similar schedule as far as Monday through Thursday, 2 3-week sessions. These would be for students exiting grades 5 through 8. They'd have the opportunity to engage in similar ELA and math learning options with a little bit of fun and fitness, physical education type courses. Again, with the Lego STEM opportunities and then some theater as well. So the enrollment for middle school and high school is a little bit slower at this time, but I have a 15-year-old at home, and anytime we talk about anything in the summer that involves anything remotely close to school, he literally runs in the opposite direction. So I think as the kids get older, I'm learning they maybe want some less of this involvement. So we're definitely encouraging our administrators and teachers at the secondary level to continue to promote this program and opportunity for our middle and high school students as well. High school is a little different option. We, of course, are running our credit recovery program with an AM and PM session running throughout the week there. Students are going to have opportunities for core curriculum and elective classes. Our counselors are working with families and students to identify students that have this need, and then we're going to be able to provide a chance for them to recover that credit. And then we also have a PSAT, SAT readiness virtual course option for students as well who are looking to prepare and become more prepared for those testing opportunities as well. Oh, let me jump to one more thing. I have a lot today, I do apologize. But I also wanted to talk about our performing arts assemblies high school tours. So this was a very wonderful opportunity for our high school students in band, orchestra, and choir to take elementary tours to all 6 elementaries, and I'll kind of go through the slides here, and get a chance to share with our elementary students some of the experiences that they will have the opportunity to engage in once they reach that middle school or high school, well, middle school and then into high school level. So these were very well received presentations. There were even opportunities for elementary students to take in as guest choir, or not guest choir, a guest conductor, as you can see from these 2 slides here. So I want to thank Mary Johnson, who really helped coordinate this, and thank all of our high school teachers and high school student performers, because I know that our elementary students were extremely excited to see. I didn't put some slides in here, but we did have slides from each of these students that were, formerly from all 6 elementaries. They had individual group shots of students that were in the choir and band that were performing that also had a chance to come back and visit their school. So a lot of good things come from these kinds of opportunities, not just a better awareness for our elementary students as far as what offerings we have, but I think it also provides our high school students more confidence and a chance to perform, and then to help kind of recruit indirectly with some of our programs there as well. One last thing. Oh, you know, I lost that, but we'll pull it back up here. And sticking with Mental Awareness Month, I wanted to get us back to the video that talked about our therapy dog, but, you know, oh, I have it right here, actually. Oh, yeah, we're gonna get it right through here. Sorry, okay. I think, Ms. Murphy, you said it was on the side here. Oh, there we go. Charlie the therapy dog.
The month of May is known as the Mental Health Awareness Month, and the mental health in teachers and students can be harshly affected by the long school hours each week. This is where Charlie comes into play, a corgi that wanders the halls at Royal Oak High School and Churchill, bringing mental health support to teachers and students each week.
I hear the voices of the students yelling, "Charlie," down the hallway, seeing the smiles on their face when they come to approach him, watching him kind of curl up with them and be able to get the pets that he loves to get.
He comes in every Wednesday, and it makes like a lot of people want to be here. I see a lot of people like be happier because he's here.
Every day that Charlie comes in, it makes the day a little bit better. Just seeing him and seeing him being excited. He's just always in a good mood and, you know, willing to give, you know, affection and attention. And it's just always nice to see him, and it makes me feel good anytime I see him.
I have individual scheduled therapy appointments with students, and Charlie's with me on certain days, and so he'll participate and be there during the session when I'm working with students. So there are times that he'll crawl in their lap or just look up at them and provide support to them during that therapy session.
Makes me like happy that he's here, and I get to like have a nice little break from like my work, give him good pets. It makes me happy, and Charlie.
I've had students indicate that Charlie's the reason why they came to school that day. So we've actually seen students who've had attendance problems actually come to school knowing Charlie will be there, which is part of the goal, is to make sure that they feel comfortable in the school, and so that's been an impact. I've actually noticed as a psychologist that students' anxiety has decreased, and some students that we don't see smile very often, watching them smile ear to ear when they see Charlie gets them into a different mood, different experience for their day.
I tried interviewing Charlie on his perspective of walking the halls of the schools, but he did not have much to say.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, for that reminder. This was also a student-created video, which is another wonderful thing that our students kind of work with. So I promise, last thing, I want to just bring the board's attention to item 9.2.1, technology purchases and upgrades.
Thank you, Dr. Ioannis. Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. So Dr. Ioannis has a number of the items listed here for the board's consideration. And I just wanted to remind you that all of these were covered at Finance and Facilities, and they represent a substantial commitment to the needs from a technological level for all of our staff and our students. And so Jeff Sharp, our technology director, as well as Dr. Ioannis, went over these in detail. And these are certainly pieces to add to our toolbox that we definitely need for next year.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Anderson?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign for the technology purchases as outlined in the packet.
Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Cook? Any discussion? Oh, Mr. Jaworski?
Do you have a question for clarification, just actually to remind myself? What was the reasoning that the middle school computer lab was moving away from Macs to PCs?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mr. Jaworski. So what we identified was when we talked to the middle school staff to try to see if what they needed to use could be used with the PC lab as opposed to a Mac lab. They mentioned that one of their Adobe programs that they use is the bulk of what they use to do their work. And we looked at the Mac lab, which really costs upwards up to $230,000 to get a Mac lab in there again. And we realized that teachers were okay in understanding that they could use that Adobe program still with a PC lab. And then we just kind of moved forward with the PC lab for those purposes. So the Mac lab, I think, had the smaller keyboards, sometimes would go missing. And then it's such an expensive device with the Mac lab. And if the monitor, is tipped or pushed or something, then it affects the whole system. Where with the PC lab, if monitor is accidentally bumped, because they're middle school students, that could be replaced much easier. So those were some of the reasons. But once we heard from teachers and staff that they felt comfortable with using Adobe and then the PC could do that, we moved to the PC lab.
Thank you. No other questions? Can we have a roll call, please?
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much. And as Mrs. Fitzpatrick indicated, we had a lot of conversation about this at Finance and Facilities last week, so greatly appreciate that. Moving on to 9.3, Finance and Facilities and Bond. Mrs. Abello?
Good evening. I have 4 items for your consideration this evening, and then when I'm done with the 4, I also have a state and district budget update. 9.3.1 is the approval of the Oakland Schools budget. Each year, the district, the member districts, the 28 districts of Oakland County, have a legal requirement to approve or disapprove the Oakland Schools budget. I did attend a meeting where Michelle Saunders, the Executive Director of Finance for Oakland Schools, fairly presented the position of Oakland Schools and their budget. They, of course, did all of the budgets for the business managers because they have several funds, much like we do, but it is only the legal requirement to approve their general fund. I felt that she fairly presented and her assumptions were valid, and we were given an opportunity to ask any questions, and she certainly answered those as well. Do you have any questions that?
Can you just speak to what some of the differences from prior year to this year's budget? And I know there was just the addition.
So they had most of what she goes over is how she calculated the increase in property taxes. They collect money differently than we do. We have a foundation allowance. They collect their money a little differently. She goes through their FTE changes, if they have any increases in staffing or decreasing. One of the ads that I remember her mentioning that day is they received a grant for a student or school resource officer, and they're going to have a school resource officer at each of their campuses, but the grant only gives them one. So they will be managing the others through their general fund.
Thank you. Can I have a resolution, please? Ms. Yusinski?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves an Oakland Schools ISD budget as presented in the board packet.
Can I have a second? Mr. Jaworski? Any further discussion? Can I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I will vote yes, and the motion passes.
Thank you.
9.3.2 is the approval of the International Academy Okemos campus budget. Part of our agreement with International Academy is that the member districts would approve or disapprove their budget. Karen Hildebrandt, the assistant superintendent, she recently was promoted. The assistant superintendent of business services presented that budget to the member districts. I also felt she fairly presented her budget as well.
Any questions? No? Can I have a resolution, please? Recommendation? Mr. Jaworski?
Be resolved, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approved the 2023-2024 fiscal year International Academy budget as presented in the board packet.
May I have a second? Mrs. Anderson? Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
And the recommendation passes.
9.3.3 is the renewal of our contract with Chartwells. We have a one-year contract with 4 options of renewal. This is our 4th of 4 renewal years. The renewal has already been approved by the state of Michigan. I have received that back. So the next step is your approval of this contract, and then we will sign the documents and send them back to the state of Michigan. Are there any questions regarding the Chartwells contract renewal?
I would just like to thank Mr. Jacob, because he's here. Just the additional, he comes to our Health and Wellness Committee, and he was speaking about the changes that have been implemented this year, which are just amazing. So greatly appreciative of those changes, and also gathering student input, which is huge. So thank you. May I have a recommendation? Mrs. Cook?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a one-year renewal of the district food service management contract with Chartwells. On June 13th, 2019, the board approved a one-year contract with 4 optional one-year renewals. This would be the 4th of 4 optional one-year renewal agreements.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Ms. Yashinsky? Any questions, discussion? May I have a roll call?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
The resolution passes.
Thank you.
9.3.4 are some additional furniture contract awards. With our bond savings, we went back through our list and we decided to go back and look at some things that we were hoping to get during working through buildings with bonds. So these are 2 of the items. There are other items that will be either have come, the technology upgrades we did recently, and then there'll be some other construction projects. This is the chairs for the science rooms at Royal Oak Middle School. That's the Great Lakes Furniture Supply. And then NBS is the rolling storage for Northwood Elementary. We did not, and I don't remember why we didn't do it at the time, if we just felt it wasn't necessary, but it is. So each one of those classroom teachers will receive 2 of the rolling carts that have the whiteboard on the back, if you've seen them in those classrooms, and that is the MBS that is on this resolution.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation? Mrs. Cook?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorize the superintendent to finalize and sign for the furniture purchases listed below. Great Lakes Furniture Supply, $32,135. NBS, $63,873.46.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Ms. Yashinsky? Any comments, questions, discussion? May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, so I have some budget updates, both state and district. So this is some of our assumptions we're working towards on the 2023-2024 budget. Currently, we have student enrollment flat. We're still working on enrollment, and I'm sure Mr. Walensky has an update on that. We have our change in RPA 152, which is the hard cap on our health insurance for our employees. It goes up 4.1% for the 2024 calendar year, so that's a change for us of 2.05% for the second half of the fiscal year. So that's about a $133,000 increase in that school year. The retirement increase we expect to be matched by the increase in the 147A allocation that we receive for retirement, but they have not yet posted what ORS rates will be in the 23-24 year, which is a little, so it's kind of one of those things that we're still waiting on. These are the known increases of the collective bargaining units. ROASA is currently negotiating. Their contract expires June 30th of 2023. So all I've calculated for ROASA is steps and benefit increases. So anything else that would increase as part of their contract. So if your salary goes up, that means your retirement cost is gonna go up a little, your FICA cost is gonna go up a little. So all of that is rolled in for, I believe there's 24 members in that unit. So that's about 175,000. For the ROEA, it's 2.1 million. For ROASA, it's 311,000. For ROSPA, which is our psychologist unit, I believe there's 5 or 6 people in that unit, $5,000. And the non-represented group is the rest of us that are not otherwise in a union group, and that's about 143,000. Retirements net us about a $20,000 savings at this point. I didn't know where we were in retirement, so I didn't want to give a number. So I have not included that in a deduct at this time. And our ability to adjust staffing to enrollment rates costs about $120,000 per FTE. So the next time we do this, I'll have a better idea of any increase in student enrollment. I'm expecting an increase. And then also that staffing that may go along with those numbers of those increased enrollment. So we have some known contract service changes as well. Durham, ABM, SafeEd, Oakland Schools all have enforced contracts, so they're a little bit easier to look at. Transportation, which is Durham, goes up $42,000 approximately next year because their contract is based on routing. So if we add a route, it goes up, it goes down. So that's my estimated cost would be about $42,000 additional next year. ABM, which is maintenance, custodial, and ground, is about $69,000. SafeEd is about $30,000. Our Oakland Schools technology is about $91,000. And then we do have an Affordable Care Act impact with our EDU staff, and that's based on how many hours they work and if they're afforded health insurance through EDU staff, that we can at some later point may receive a bill for that, our cost sharing. So I kind of keep that on the side, but that has not impacted our budget yet. And then, of course, any program additions and deletions, if we have any, would be included. So what we do is we start with the current year's structural deficit because nothing's changed about last year's budget, or very little is going to change about last year's budget. So we know we're at about $1.3 million in a structural deficit. So that's still a real number. Then adding all of these numbers that I just gave you is our known net impact to our budget is about $4.2 million. So that's a structural deficit of $4.2 million. So now we're going to go through the adds based on the 3 budget recommendations. So of course we talk a lot about foundation allowance. So the governor has recommended $458, the House $366, and the Senate $550. So those would be the impacts based on 5,000 students. An increase to our budget, 2.3 million, 1.8, or 2.75. If I was guessing, I would say, based on the way I'm looking, I'd say it's probably right around what the governor's gonna say because she's somewhat in the middle on those 3. While it does not affect the general fund, I wanted to highlight 30D, which sees the expanded breakfast and lunch program. The free and reduced lunch program through the federal government will remain the same, but this is the state funding, that additional piece that we don't get reimbursed from the federal government for full pay students. So I just wanted to highlight that. While it doesn't affect the general fund, it will certainly affect the students in the schools. The MIPSERV Reserve Fund, while also not necessarily impacting our general fund budget, all 3 branches have included a $925 million deposit into the reserve fund. So that will help keep the unemployment rate more stable. 51E is the special education funding. This current year, it is funded, I'm sorry, I had to think about that because the one below it is very similar in nature, and I put it in, it's very hard to fit a lot of stuff in there. So it's based on a percentage of FTE, which is new this school year, was new to us to get it in this manner. So the governor is recommending 87.5% 85% of the foundation allowance, so the base foundation, so 9150, because of course we also have the hold harmless millage. So it's 87% of the foundation allowance. Senate and House are at 100%. Now, the reason why the numbers are different still is because I calculated the difference between what they're recommending and the 9150, and they're not the same. So of course the numbers will not be the same, even though House and Senate are both funding 100%. Their recommended increase to the foundation allowance is different. So it makes that calculation a tad different. Also with 31A, the governor and the Senate both have it funded at 11.5%. Now that is a percentage of foundation allowance for each student that is economically disadvantaged. So a different subset of students. And the House wants to fund it at 35%, but their current recommendation only includes enough funding for 16.4%. So while that's their goal, 35%, it's only funded in their budget at 16.4%. So I've also included the increase to 31A for you to see, and then the revenue impact. So if all the things the governor has recommended, it would be an increase of 2.6 million. The items from the House, almost 2.9 million, and then of course the Senate, 3.2. And then, interestingly enough, we're almost back to the same point where we started, just around a structural deficit of $1.6 million. So, are there any questions? I do have a slide that just tells you what's outstanding, right? So we're still waiting for a final state budget, hoping that we're gonna see that June 1st. Their goal is to get there. The contract negotiations with ROASA are ongoing. The retirement rate increase that I had already mentioned, that we don't have those rates yet, and then any staffing changes that I get out of the staffing meetings.
Any questions from anybody? I know I keep thinking too in terms, and I know you'll share this with us in the future, just in terms of, ESSER monies that end and other things that are, today funding some programs and operational things, and I know that's in the back of my mind too, is I know May 11th, is that today? Yeah, that's today. Now we're out of COVID. So, but just in terms of those types of things too that impact us from a financial perspective. Mrs. Patrick.
Thank you. I just want to mention that Ms. Abella, Dr. Ioannis, and I have met regularly, just about 2 or 3 days a week over the last few weeks, because there is a number that we have to hit in terms of spending. We have to have certain things encumbered by June. The spending thresholds are September of each of the subsequent grants that you mentioned. And so we want to make sure that we're doing that. And when we do mention the programs that are paid for by the grants, we want to make sure that's on purpose. We want to make sure that our community knows that we're being good stewards of the money that was given to us. So we are investing in extra staff, as you're mentioning, and many districts did, and we're also investing in many programs for our students as well. Part of what we're doing right now is looking ahead to the 23-24 school year. The positions we intend to maintain, many of them were written into the grant for at least a 2-year period, so this current school year and next year. So we don't see any significant changes at all in the support staff. We're also making plans by offsetting the general fund with some of the grant money so that we have somewhat of a savings to look ahead, so that positions that we want to preserve, we may be able to. And then, of course, in a year from now, we'll be in a different position with a budget coming from the state of Michigan as well. So with the commitments they're making to SEL and the number of our legislators that are out there seeking extra revenue, extra money for us to keep those positions in place, we're very encouraged. So I just wanted to acknowledge both Ms. Abella and Dr. Ioannis for the time that we've spent over the last several weeks going through all of those details you mentioned.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know, in the challenge of just funding and tax revenue, and we hear the big surplus, and then we hear that's whittled down. So it's one of the challenges of the way schools are funded. So thank you. Moving on to 9.4, Student and Staff Services, Mr. Walensky.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Van Heidsma. My report will be pretty brief this evening, just some things to share. We are embarking on the time of year where it gets real busy. The next 4 months, we're starting this process. We've already begun this process of interviewing. We're going to be interviewing almost every day and hiring new staff to replace retirements. And Ms. Abella, there's 8 so far, and resignations. But it's undetermined how many more retirements, resignations we're going to get, but we know we have those at least. And in some cases, and we're still looking at this, to accommodate increased enrollment. So it's difficult to know exactly how many staff members we're going to need to hire between now and August. But I can tell you I went back and looked at my opening day notes. On opening day, we had hired exactly 40 new employees, and I held over 300 interviews to hire those 40 employees. So it's going to be busy. I will not be sitting in on all of those. Obviously, our principals do a lot of that work, and my office supports them. So item 8.1 on tonight's consent agenda lists our personnel changes since last month. It's not real long this month, but it's going to get longer every month with new hires. But I'll just go through that quickly. We have one new retirement notification. Maureen Dibner, who was a paraprofessional at Royal Oak Middle School, retired effective April 21st. As I said, that's our 8th retirement total. 2 resignations effective the end of the school year, one from Sarah Corba, a 2nd grade teacher at Adams, and another from Samantha Orlena, early childhood teacher at Adams. We also have 5 new recommendations for hire, which include Cheryl Buxton, a substitute teacher. The reason we're hiring, as you know, we use EduStaff as our third party for substitutes. Unless you're a retired teacher, we just hire you directly. And that's why we're hiring Cheryl. Christine Brzezinski is a paraprofessional for Royal Oak Middle School. Katie Volk, a part-time clerk for Royal Oak Middle School. Nicole Davis, an early interventionist and physical therapist for Adams ECC, which is to accommodate significant increased enrollment in the number of children in those programs. And Chelsea Feldman, a 2nd grade teacher for Upton Elementary, who will be replacing one of our retirees, Lisa Eicher. So Chelsea's she's been our learning support specialist all year at Upton. She's gonna take over the role of 2nd grade teacher come fall. Enrollment, it starts real heavy and there's kind of an ebb and flow to it. So this week hasn't been quite as busy in enrollment, but it ebbs and flows. To date, we have enrolled 311 children for kindergarten in the fall. 22 of them are through schools of choice. We approved 75 spots for schools of choice for kindergarten, so 22 of those 311 are schools of choice, 289 are resident children. Last fall, we enrolled 369, so we're at 311. We're getting close, and we have a lot of time left to enroll. Developmental kindergarten is up by 20 children from last year already. So for developmental kindergartens becoming increasingly popular, we have 67 children currently enrolled. 10 of them are through schools of choice, but 57 are resident children. And just to compare to this year, we had 47 children enrolled in DK, so we're already up 20 children. So I'm hopeful we're going to see an increase in enrollment for kindergarten as well. And then lastly, item 9.4.1 on tonight's agenda is a recommendation to amend our current Safe Ed contract to increase their their per hour compensation to $2.40, of which $2 is their intention to go directly to their employees. And this is to assist them in attracting and retaining the most qualified employees, of which they're increasingly is a challenge for them as well, as many employers. And I believe this was presented to you at the Facilities and Finance meeting. So the contract with Safe Ed is valid through 23-24. They're just asking for an amendment to increase their per hour rate, which I would support. And that is item 9.4.1.
Mr. Walensky, just for the benefit of the audience, can you clarify what Safe Ed is? I know most people do know by now, but
yeah, we call them security. They're hall monitors. They're additional adults at our high school and middle school who monitor the hallways. Primary function is monitoring visitors, entrance and exit from the building, just to check people in, check their reason for being there to enhance security. And really, we call them observe and report. They don't do a lot of direct interaction with kids, but they do, but not in a disciplinary way. But if they observe something that's not right, they will report to administration. So it's a human being better than a security camera.
Thank you. Can I have, certainly.
I believe I heard that there'll be DK at all 6 elementaries. Did I hear that right?
Yes, that is our plan, but I saw Ms. Fitzpatrick was about to speak. Yes, that is our plan currently.
Yes, we were very encouraged by the number of families that have enrolled their children in DK, and it's always been our goal to have it. We also have to be responsible and, put the classrooms where we can fill it. But certainly having a room at each school allows students to attend developmental kindergarten at their home school and then stay there for kindergarten through 5th grade. And then we also place our SOC students across the district into those DK positions as well. And that is favorable, so, parents don't have to make a choice, and there are no transfers after that. So it's looking very, very strong for the fall, yes.
So that's our hope right now, but it sounds like the numbers are good.
Yeah, very, very good. Up 20 already at this point, up 20 children from fall of last year. So we've had 47 enrolled this year. We already have 67 enrolled, and I anticipate that'll go up a little bit.
Thank you.
I don't mean to jump off topic, but just a point of clarification. So when we talk about the summer school program, it's for existing kindergarten and DK. So in terms of these incoming, it's not applicable to those students, just to clarify.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Can 9.4.1 Safe Ed contract addendum, can I have a recommendation? Mrs. Anderson?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign the First Amendment to the Safe Ed contract.
Can I have a second, please? Ms. Yashinsky, any discussion? Mr. Jaworski?
Do we know what the hourly rate of pay is for the Safe Ed employees?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say $16 or $17 an hour. I can't say for certainty. Miss Abella, do you know?
Is that before the $2 increase?
Yes, before.
Okay.
As I said, he had a concern about retaining some of his. I mean, we want the right people, especially in these roles, who interact with our kids and are charged with keeping children safe. So there's a certain degree of qualifications and training we want them to have, and places like Kohl's are willing to pay security as well, and perhaps pay a little more. So this was just Steve Brandamore, the CEO's plea to help him retain some of his current staff.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick, too, I think we spoke at Finance and Facilities. Some of the Safe Ed staff we have are folks that have been with us for a period of time as well.
Yes, and so many of them have commented how much they like being in our middle school and our high school. As Mr. Walensky stated, they're not there in terms of discipline, but they certainly have relationships with the kids. Many of the kids affectionately refer to them, by their names, and they also know student names and relationships, and that's important to the community, because when we talk about trusted adults that children have, many of them look up to the people that they see in the halls with them from Safe Ed every day. And so those relationships are important as well. And yes, we have a few that have turned over, but others that have stayed with us nearly the entire time we've had our contract with them.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a roll call?
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 10, public comment. Same rules apply. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 11, board comments and liaison report. Anybody? Comments, questions? So I have to say something because I always do. It's what I do. So just further acknowledgement, a staff appreciation month, week. Just so grateful to work with and be part of Royal Oak School District and the wonderful team that we have here. We continue to support and appreciate all of them. Also, the Royal Oak Schools golf outing, June 26th, my plug. And so if you're any way interested in a golfer, and you are a golfer, it's a wonderful outing at Metamora. Please see the foundation's website for further information. And just, I have to make a personal plug, just with the proclamations that we read today about mental health awareness and foster care awareness. I was able to hear a keynote speech yesterday from somebody named Dr. Johnny Thomas, who is a superintendent in the Chicago area, and who spoke about his life and his work. He's a MSW, also a PhD, just a lot of letters, but just spoke to his passion and his work and the importance of the mental health work and the importance of being present in the foster care work as well. And he shared a story of 2 foster care children that he had difficult time placing, struggled with. They had mental health issues. Finally found placement with somebody who he was confident they wouldn't stay long-term because they had been placed so many times previously. But the end story was a beautiful and positive one, but just spoke to the importance of, social work, public health employees, and the foster care system, and just having those people that do that work, and the importance of us in the district, from my perspective, of having that mental health support within our district. So that's just a little add-on for me, but no comments, questions? Item 12, closed session. 12.1, adjourn to closed session. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Anderson?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education adjourns to a closed session for the purpose of considering security planning, which is permissible under the Open Meetings Act, Section 8, subsection K.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mr. Jaworski, roll call, please.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
We will go into closed session. Thank you. Item 12.2, reconvene at
Whatever time.
9:44. Item 13, move to adjournment, approved by consensus. Thank you.